Yes, the West African leaders coming together to share or set up this joint intelligence fusion cell, which is part of the recommendations from that meeting. And then you talked about the joint briefing, the defense, the DSS, the military. What about strengthening our local capacity? The police, for instance, I mean, we've rarely heard them being mentioned in all of this. What kind of support is the police rendering in this fight?
The police is doing a lot of work. Don't forget that the entire war is made up by all the security forces, the police, the army, the air force, the navy, and the secret service. All of them are involved in this war. And the police are doing a lot of, a number of the attacks that we have been able to stop came from police intelligence and came from proactive police action in different parts of the northeast and also the northwest. So the police really are in the front of this war. And you remember the police have suffered more attacks than any other security force in the course of this insurgency. So the police are doing a great job to maintain local security, to give confidence to citizens in the various places they operate, and to cooperate with other security forces in the course of this war. So police has been in the front, really, frontally doing their best in this war. So what we need is to appreciate them, to give them encouragement, to give them more support, to give them information, to link up with them so that they can help to defend us better. And that is what is required. In terms of participation, I can tell you that the police has done a lot of work in their own area in the front against terror.
School girls.
Very traumatic experience for all Nigerians. In the course of this war, nothing has offended our sensibilities as a people, as a nation. Nothing has been more harrowing in terms of the pain that we have suffered that could compare to the abduction of these young schoolgirls in government secondary school Chibok. We really, really feel the tremor in the land, the pain that we are going through. First of all, these are innocent children. And then there are girls. All over the world, girl child education, girl child rights have become subject of international campaigns. So when this happened in Nigeria, it's really been very traumatic for all of us, for the president, for the government, and for the people of Nigeria. The outpouring of anger in the streets and support is definitely in line with the true Nigerian spirit. And we really appreciate this. The real operation to get those guys freed is ongoing. I tell you that since the abduction, the police, the army, the air force, the secret service have been on the heels in the search, for these girls. What we suspect is that these girls are not necessarily in the bush. They may be spread out in different places in small groups, maybe even in the cities. And that is what we are talking about, citizens' cooperation. What you are looking for in the bush may indeed be in the backyard, close to our citizens. So we need that level of cooperation and surveillance, and it is ongoing. There is no rest in this government. Nobody has, had any sleep beyond a few hours since the Chibok girls' abductions. So long as we have not found them, the anxiety remains. But our duty is to do all we can. The security forces are doing everything through intelligence, through air surveillance, through cooperation of citizens. We urge, as continue to emphasize, we urge our partners in the states of Borno, Yobe, in the entire Northeast, we need to look within. We need to do more effort in getting our citizens, our villagers, our city dwellers, our urban dwellers to look out and cooperate with security forces, because I believe that this is a job that we can get done if everybody looks around his back, if everybody look at the sun and find out what is happening around his neighborhood. These guys, we suspect, have not been taken out of Nigeria because the surveillance across Cameroon border, across Chad border, across Niger border by air and land has been very consistent. Sometimes we hear they have been taken out to Central African Republic. Some reports say they went to Cameroon. But from all the intelligence cooperation we've had from Cameroon and our own surveillance, this doesn't seem plausible. We can't rule out everything 100%, but it does not seem plausible. What is more plausible might be the fact that they may indeed have been partitioned into small groups and maybe, hiding among us. We need to watch out. You look at in the United States, you find that there are situations where some people have been held as slaves for 30 years without anybody knowing. Those people have been living. Look at the tragic stories we had in the U.S. in the last 2 years, where people, some women abducted, you know, by neighbors, were hidden under the chambers of their houses, and they lived there for 30 years before they were discovered as slaves, as sex slaves. So in every country, you have very ugly incidents. But the abduction of these girls is something that the president, the armed forces are so committed. There is no rest anywhere here in this government. And we're focusing on the work so that we're not distracted. So we call for the cooperation of Nigerians, particularly in terms of passing information, looking around, passing intelligence to the local police, to the local traditional ruler, to the state governor, and passing that information to security forces. By the grace of God, you know, we know that these girls, we are certain in our heart that these girls will be found. What is most crucial is that they are found in good health without harm. That is the most important objective behind us. How do we get these guys without any harm done to them? You know, because the whole nation is behind them, and it is our mutual pain.
The whole world is concerned about this, but you would also agree that in sorting this out, information is key here, and the government has come up with some series of numbers. What can you tell us about the communication situation in the Northeast? Because a couple of base stations have been blown up to the extent that we understand that some phone lines or phone networks can't be accessed by those who would want to pass on information to the relevant agencies.
You know, the federal government does not have direct control over the information machinery of state governments, but we cooperate at the level of the National Council on Information. And in the beginning of this war, we came together, you know, the Federal Ministry of Information called an emergency conference on information, and we share strategies. We share common ways of reaching out to the people, and we urge the state governments to be able to use their outlets to support the war by educating the local people, because the information machinery of state governments reach the grassroots sometimes much faster. What the governor says, what the local government chairman says, what the traditional ruler says is likely to be immediately heard and followed by the citizens in those states. So that is the challenge. That's why I said we need cooperation. We need partnership. You know, we're all victims of this crisis. All of us are victims. Nobody is immune to this crisis, and whether you are living in Lagos or Calabar or in Sokoto or Maiduguri, it's the same thing. All of us are victims, because on the way you could be a victim. On a visit to a friend, you could be a victim. So we need to know that this is our war. And so I believe that we need the level of the education coming a lot from the state governments to the people, so that it is easier to reach them, you know, when we speak from the center of the federal government. So I think that is exactly what we are doing. And we're also hoping that in the months ahead, as we refocus properly on this war and leave every distraction and come together, I believe we will engage more with our colleagues in the states affected to ensure that we share strategy, we share information, we share our strategy with them, and they share their own with us. There are certain things that we can relay, we will do so. And there are most of the information that really needs to be relayed at the grassroots level. That is where this war is, and that is where we can succeed. So a lot depends on this, and we're doing our best.